Welcome back, everyone. And as you can see from the video, you already know what this is going to be about. We are going to do a set review of Phantom Forces. Now, let me start by saying I am actually pretty excited about this set. There are a lot of really cool cards that I think can possibly be used here. We're going to go over some of them. Probably not going to investigate every single card because there's really no need to. But we're going to take a look at some of the evolutions, see which ones are pretty decent. But first, we are going to start with Venomoth. And looking at its stats, it's nothing too great. It is a stage 1, 90 HP. Anything will pretty much kill it in a hit. But its first attack is kind of like a pseudo trainer lock. And basically what it does, whenever your opponent plays a trainer card, any trainer, does it could be an item, supporter, state, just any trainer period. Your opponent has to flip a coin for that card. And if they flip tails, it has no effect and it gets discarded. So it's kind of like that really old Slow King, except it doesn't go back to the top of the deck. It just immediately gets discarded. It's not a bad attack, but it looks like it just works whenever your opponent plays any trainer cards from their turn. So with this, you can effectively keep your opponent from playing any trainers. But it's not, all that great because the attack doesn't do any damage. So if you want to just prevent your opponent from playing pretty much trainers, you're better off using something like Trevenant or Seismitoad. Those only block items, but those are the ones that are really going to hurt you anyway. Supporters not so much, but at least this Venomoth can block a Lysander if it ever came up. Of course, they have to flip heads. The next card we're gonna take a look at. Let's see what Yanmega does. Windfall, shuffle your hand to your deck and draw 6 cards. Okay, this shuffle draw. Surprise Strike. If this Pokemon was on your bench and evolved that turn, was it evolved? So if it's on your bench and it goes into your active Pokemon that turn, it does 50 more damage. So I can actually see that being pretty decent. It's got free retreat costs. The attack might be better if it was, one colorless less. Then you could just effectively switch back and forth between Yanmegas and just do 100 every single turn. But it's probably better for the game that it's 3, so that way it's not that easy to use. But apparently, Enhanced Hammer is being reprinted in this set, so that would also make it harder to use as well, since Grass has no reliable acceleration. Levani, what do you do? Coordinate. Choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon to have no tools attached to them and attach tools to them from your deck. So you just give them tools. It's not that great. Leaf Storm, heal 20 damage from each of your grass Pokemon. It's not that great a card. Talonflame, because I am always excited for more birds. Just too bad this one sucks. It's got a retreat cost. When are they going to stop giving birds retreat costs? Like, seriously, I hope Pidgeot EX has no retreat costs. I actually hope it comes out in the next set. That'd make me happy. But they need to stop giving birds retreat costs. It does make sense. Alright, but Acrobatics, let me see, does flip 2 coins. So the attack can do 90 for 1, but you got to get 2 heads. Jet Shoot. I don't really like this attack. I'm not a fan of attacks that increase the amount of damage done to you. It just seems like they're trying their hardest to make evolution suck, because there's no reason for a Pokemon that takes 2 other cards to get itself into play and have 3 entry. So this is 6 cards in a deck right here, just to get Talonflame and attack with it. 6 cards to do 120 damage, which will do 40 to yourself in return. So this means a Mewtwo can revenge kill this. Yveltal can revenge kill this. I mean, I don't know why they do this. They just need to stop making cards suck. And this Pyroar, I actually like this Pyroar. More for the support, not for attacking, because Infernal Rush costs 4, and the Pokemon does 30 damage to itself. Flare Command lets you discard a fire energy attached to this Pyroar, and you pretty much get a Pokemon catcher / Lysander effect. You can bring up one of your opponent's Pokemon to the active spot. The only problem I don't like The only thing I don't like with this is the fact that you have to use an attachment for your turn to be able to use this. And it's not like you can discard a fire energy from any of your Pokemon. It has to be discarded from this Pyroar. It's a nice balanced thing that I do like because Blacksmith is a thing. But I don't know. When we got that robot that has the 30 HP, you know, things like Dawn Fan are going to be really good. And I just want to see a effect like this not require a lot to use, considering all the big cards that do a lot of things don't require anything to use anything for the most part. If that made any sense. I don't know. But Kingler, what do you do? What does Kingler do? 100 HP, 3 retreat costs. It has no reason being that big, considering Kingler is not exactly slow. Crab Hammer for 100, and it's 4 water. They just made this card bad. They didn't even try. They did not try with that. Okay, for Alligator. I hate how they spell that. But I know the reason they spelt it like that, but I just hate it. I hate that. Hyper Whirlpool. Flip a coin till you get tails. For each heads, discard a energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. See, this isn't a bad attack. I mean, you have to initially get 2 heads just to have it be really effective. But yeah, it's not that bad attack. Second Strike does 80 more damage if they have damage on it. So I mean, this is a pretty common card. I think this here might be a reprint of another Feraligatr, because I remember seeing these attacks on it before. 3 energy retreat costs, weakness to grass. I guess they're making all the water Pokemon weak to grass now, because grass doesn't really hurt them as much as it used to. Luminion, do you do anything interesting? Search your deck for 2 Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. Water Pulse. Okay, this card is not that great either. Okay, Jellicent. Attach 3 energy cards from your opponent's discard pile to his or her Pokemon in any way. Like, why would you do that? I mean, I can only see this being useful in one deck. And that deck is any steel deck with what's the name of that Pokemon? The Sword and Shield guy. What's his name? Oh man, it was right on the tip of my tongue too. I just can't even remember it right now. But you guys know who I'm talking about. His ability says, as long as your opponent's Pokemon have any special energies attached to them, prevent all damage done to him by those attacks. So you can put special energy on your opponent's Pokemon. This is especially useful in any fighting deck because of strong energy. Any dark deck that uses double colors, pretty much any deck that uses double colors energy, you just put those on all your opponent's attackers, and they can't hurt that Pokemon. This is probably the only way I'm going to see that being useful, considering that Sword and Shield Pokemon has 3 energy, colorless for its attack cost. You can, you know, do things with water as well, and it also opens up other options too. Heartfish, Deep Sea Dive, heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. Switch Surf. Okay, it's just bad. Oh, is it a common? Well, ain't that something? Now, Manectric EX is actually one I'm excited about. First of all, it has a retreat cost, which I really don't like, but the Mega, we'll bring that up to, doesn't. But we're going to look at Manectric EX. 170 HP, so pretty much any fighting Pokemon can kill it, especially Lucario. So, I mean, it has a big check. Overrun for a single energy, any energy, deals 20, and then lets you deal 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Not that great. Assault Laser, if your opponent's active Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached to it, it does 60 more damage. So basically, you attach the Team Flare tools to your opponent's EX. This attack does 120 for 2. This here kills Eviltal EX. I mean, this here is the Eviltal killer. It just keeps it in check. It doesn't care. It's like, okay, Eviltal's out, I'm gonna attach a Team Flare to you. Assault Laser for 240, you die. It's a good card. I like it. Manectric EX, also good because Manectric has a Spirit Link card, so you can play this to it um, and evolve it immediately and don't end your turn. So that's good. Turbo Bolt, also 2 energy, deals 110 damage and lets you attach 2 basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Good Pokemon. I can see this card being spliced in just about any deck because it's so easy to put down. It's easy to charge. I mean, this is just a good card. On top of that, you can run a plasma engine with it, so that way you can effectively use Chorus Machine. Of course, you'll have to use a lot of tool retrievers, I think it is, so you can take off the Team Plasma badge and stuff like that. But it's a good way to get it powered up in one turn, which is what you want to do. Energy Switch is also an option. Decks that can really utilize this card is any Dragonite deck that has Energy Switch in it. I mean, this is just a good card because Dragonite doesn't have a good matchup against Yveltal to begin with. You just throw this down, Spirit Link, Mega Evolve it, Lightning Energy Switch a Grass to it. This is a sick card. Like I'm going to use this because it's too good not to. Lucario does keep it in check, but you just throw Dragonites at them or Mewtwo's. Manectric EX, good card. If you have them, don't trade them. They will be good. But going down Pachirisu, always gotta look at these little guys here because they always do a bunch of interesting stuff. Okay, so we got a Trick Attack here. Defending Pokemon's weakness is Lightning until the end of your next turn. Oh, that is such a good attack. And okay, we're not using it for Patchy. We're not using it for that. We're using it for the Trick Sticker. Oh man, could you imagine locking something in the active spot? Then changing their oh man, Manectric. Oh, I gotta make sure this is centered more because I've got the video cropped. Well, it's a good thing I saw that now. But Trick Sticker, good attack. Oh, okay. What does Joltik do? Night March. This attack does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon in your discard pile that have Night March. Huh. So they can do 80, 60. Well, how many Pokemon have Night March? I mean, if this is really going to be a thing, then, you know, Joltik can start doing so. You know, let me go back and check now. Let me go back and check and see if any of these grass Pokemon up here had Night March. Because I really want to see Joltik be used. I mean, it's like a 4-inch. Like, it's so small. Could you imagine this little thing just wrecking something? Could you imagine a Joltik wrecking an Yveltal EX? That'd be legit. Galvantula, Cobweb Trip. Switch to your opponent's bench Pokemon to active. New active is not confused. See, if that made it not be able to retreat too, that'd be good. But I guess that kind of defeats the purpose. Oh no, it doesn't, because you could just Cobweb Trip something, lock into the active spot. It's confused and can't retreat. Then you throw some Electro Webs at it, make it to where it can't retreat, and you're dealing damage with it. And then you can just move this for something else. Like this is really good. If Cobweb Trip locked it in the active spot, this would be really good for dealing with things like Garbodor, which are annoying to deal with. Helioptile has 2 cards. Like, this is a really cute Pokemon. What do you do? Okay, just 2 useless cards. Heliolisk does Parabolic Charge. Discard or Spark. Discards mean lightning energy attached to your Pokemon. This side is 30 and times the number of energy. So it's basically like that Magnezone Prime. Okay, nothing useful. I remember Golbat being decent. Sneaky Bite. When you evolve this Pokemon, place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. See, I want to see more Pokemon like this that make it to where you want to use the stage 1. But like evolving Pokemon manually is just so bad because decks, they hit you so hard, so early. Like on turn 2, Mewtwo can knock this out. Yveltal can knock this out. Even Lucario, which this thing resists, still gets knocked out in like 2 turns. 1 turn if you do it right. All you need is the muscle band to make his, I guess, his first attack jab, because it's not affected by weakness or resistance, or is it just resistance? I don't remember. But you make it do 50 attacks from muscle band, you're doing 70. So I mean, in one turn, Lucario can knock this out. Crobat, same thing. Surprise Bite. When you evolve it, place 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Skill Dive does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Like, do they purposely make Crobat suck? Because every Crobat card that I've seen has had Skill Dive. Not all of them, but a lot of Crobats that I've seen had Skill Dive. And they've all sucked. I mean, there's no reason you want to use it. Yes, Surprise Bite is a good ability, but it's on a stage 2, so you're going to have to dedicate a lot of dex spaces to it. And in order to correctly use something like this, you just have to have one turn. And you don't want to have a deck that's only good at doing something once. Because even if you use this with Dusknoir, that's still 2 stage 2s, and you're going to have another support attacker in the deck. Because Crobat's not doing it. And I get the feeling this is a foil rare, which is a waste of one. But let's take a look at Gengar, since everybody likes Gengar, apparently. I don't like Gengar, but everybody else does. Gengar, 170 HP, weakness to dark, resists fighting, double retreat cost. Night attack, unless you place 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Not a bad attack, unless you spread things and set up knockouts. Dark Corridor, you switch this, or your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, and you switch this to one of your bench Pokemon. So this is another hit and run Pokemon. You just bring up something like Sigilyph or Suicune or something to block damage. That new robot card is also really good too. I really don't care for hit and run Pokemon because the strategies tend to be very dominant, and I don't like over dominant strategies in games, especially that when they lack certain counters. But it's whatever. Mega Gengar, on the other hand, has 220 HP, same stats for the most part, except its retreat cost is 1, and it has an attack called Phantom Gate, which lets you choose one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks and use it as that attack. Mega Gengar also has a Spirit Link, so you can play it down and your turn won't end, and you can start attacking immediately. There's also energy cards that let you reduce this, so you could be paying 1 Psychic, 1 Colorless to attack. I like Mega Gengar a lot because a lot of decks have really big attacks on their Pokemon. For instance, you could use pretty much anything. If a Pokemon has an attack that does like 150, 200 damage, you're good. You just consistently use that. And it's not even the defending Pokemon. You just choose one of their Pokemon's attacks and use it. It's a really good card. It's extremely versatile. It can turn the tides of games, but still Yveltal is a problem because Yveltal can knock it out in one hit. Absol, I'm not sure if that's still being played too much, but Absol still can deal 240 to it. Just some things to watch out for. Wobbuffet, there were a lot of hit and misses with this. Basically, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, each player's Pokemon in play, in hand, and a discard pile has no abilities. So it's basically a Garbodor that only works in the active spot. Problem with this is it gets knocked out easily and it doesn't really do anything. And if it ever not becomes the active, the ability is turned back on. It can have a use in a hit and run deck. Yeah, it has use in a hit and run deck. It forces players to run more Lysanders, which kind of hogs the supporter they can use for the turn. I really don't care for things like that, but it's whatever. Swilot does poison gas. Nothing interesting. Rashada drains the memory. Shuffle 3 cards and you discard pile into your deck. Dream Dance. I mean, it's not a super interesting card. In a pre-release, probably still not an interesting card. I mean, this can have use, but you have Lysander's Last Resort. It's doesn't require that much space, and it's only a 1 card to use it. So, I mean, I guess that's just one you overlook. Chandelure. Fainting Spell. Oh, they brought this crap back. Why did they bring Fainting Spell back? Curse Drop. Put 6 damage counters. Your opponent's Pokemon. Oh, this card is really good. I see this being used, actually. because with the energy lets you use Curse Drop for 2. You play 6 damage, and it's got Fainting Spell. Man, I guess this is the reason to have Garbodor in your deck, just so you don't not get Fainted Spell and you lose an EX and 2 prizes. Like, it's nothing like losing a game to a coin flip, and this here is the ultimate, thing of that. I really wish they didn't bring this back. Oh man, I do not like this card. I mean, it's a good card. I like the card. I just wish they didn't bring Fainting Spell back. But Chandelure will see a lot of play. You can pretty much almost guarantee that. Gourgeist. As long as it has any grass energy attached to it, its maximum HP is 200. Horror Note. This attack does 10 damage times the number of cards in your hand. I hope the Japanese name for this attack is Death Note. I seriously hope it is. I should look right now, but I'm not sure where I would find that at. I'm calling the attack Death Note. Done deal. It's not that great a card. This card here is really good if you can manage to train unlock your opponent, keep their hand size really big, but it's not that great in attack, especially for how much energy the attack costs. I know they only made the attack big so that way you have to at least pay 2 for it when you attach energy to it, but this is not that great in attack. Glyph Score normally does something interesting. Submission Hold. Your opponent can't attach energy cards. Oh, I've never seen that before. Well, recently. Something that makes it to where your opponent can't attach energy is a big deal. Oh man, this is... You can lock something like Yveltal in the active spot and just go to town on them. You attach a strong energy, you attach a muscle band, and you attach a and use the stadium. You can kill an Yveltal in 3 turns. And forcing this out of the active spot isn't even going to matter, because this is an effect on your opponent. They just can't attach energy cards from his or her hand to the defending Pokemon. Well, I guess they can switch out of it. But, I mean, it's still really good because you can lock something in the active spot. If they can't move it, then it's whatever. Poison Jab. Defending Pokemon is now poisoned. Nothing interesting there. First attack can be decent, but it requires 3 cards to be able to use it. So, we all know how slow that is in the game right now. We got high density armor on Gigalith. If this Pokemon has full HP and any damage done to this Pokemon by attack is reduced by 50. That's not bad. During your next turn, this Pokemon's overdrive smash attack is 40 more damage. So it could do 100 if you use it consecutively. The only problem I see playing this is Hypnotoxic Laser. Like, if any one of these gets damage on them, it just kind of ruins the armor attack. So you're definitely going to have to use it with the Dusk Noir that moves damage counters around to make it useful. But, I mean, there's no reason to play this over something like Lucario EX. Alright. My mouse hyper scrolls when it wants to. I wish I can fix that, but I can't. But Haunch Crow, because I like birds. Always glad to see them. Hypnoblast and Nightmare Mambo. If your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, this attack does 120 damage if the Pokemon is asleep. So this has synergy with Hypnotoxic Laser, especially if you can get heads on it. Verbank City Gym. You can pretty much do 150 damage with this. So that's really good. Mightyena doesn't look like it does anything interesting. Spiritomb. B cancel. Your opponent can't play any Pokemon from his or her hand to evolve the defending Pokemon during their next turn. So why do they call it B cancel? Why do they call it E cancel? No weakness, no resistance. 1 retreat cost. It's I mean, it's not something you would definitely put a space in. I mean, this isn't stopping anybody. It's just an easy prize and probably not worth the space. Liper, Gentle Bite. When your opponent's next turn, any damage done by attacks and friendly Pokemon is reduced by 60. That can actually be good just for that attack alone. Malamar EX. This here is an interesting Pokemon. 170 HP, weak to fighting, resists Psychic, 200 retreat costs. Hyper Hypnosis makes it whenever you attach an energy card from your hand to this Pokemon, you can put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. The next attack, Maximar, I guess that's what that is. You flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack does 60 damage times the number of hits. So you can either do 0 damage or you can do infinite damage for the most part. But as long as you have energy attached to it. Again, it uses your attachment for the turn to gain an effect. Since Dark doesn't have any more acceleration, you're really going to have to consider when you want to use this. It's a good Pokemon. Okay, that's his name. That's his name. Aegislash. But we're going to take a look at that later. Skarmory doesn't look like it does anything interesting, which is unfortunate, because I like Skarmory. But Bronzong has the Metal Links ability, which lets you attach a metal energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. We all know how good this is going to be, especially with that new Team Flare card. Lets you discard 3 cards from your deck. We can expect Bronzong to see some play. We still have Plasma Clang, so that's going to make this deck even more fearsome. The Dialga EX does Chrono Wind 60. The defending Pokemon, if the defending Pokemon's Pokemon EX, it can't attack. Decent is 1 metal, 3 or 2 colorless for 60. Full Metal Impact, discard 2 metal energy attached to this Pokemon, which isn't a problem because you got Bronzong. Synergy, gotta love it. Heatran, Still Drop. If there's a stadium in play, attack does 40 more damage. Steam Blast, discard energy. I mean, there's no reason to use Heatran over Dialga. I mean, Heatran gets around Safeguard, but it still gets stopped by Pyroar. Yeah, Pyroar is going to be the biggest bane of this deck's existence. Escavalier probably does nothing random. Discard a random card, and yeah, nothing interesting. Aegislash, Mighty Shield, prevent all damage done by attacks to this Pokemon for each. So your Pokemon. Okay, let me read this right. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from each of your opponent's Pokemon that has special energy attached to it. So, with that Pokemon I said above, put special energy in your opponent's Pokemon, they can't damage this. That on top of things like the Plasma Clang ability, Pyroar cannot hit this if it has a double colorless energy on it. So, you basically got 2 kinds of protection with this. And, Steel Blast does 40 plus 20 more for each metal energy attached to it, so you could be doing 100 damage just for the cost of the attack, which isn't bad. Klefki, Call for Family. Okay, nothing super interesting. Florius EX. Lead, search your deck for a supporter, reveal it, put it to your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. Now, this first attack will be a lot better if it cost any energy, or let the energy stay the same, but make it to where once you search your deck for the supporter, you can use the effect of the supporter for this card's effect, or for the attack's effect, and move that supporter to your hand if it would remain in your hand. Like, for example, if I were to use the effect and chose Skyla for example, I could use the effect of Skyla, put a card in my hand, but that Skyla goes to my hand. Or if I were to use Professor Juniper, I would use the Professor Juniper, but it'll get discarded anyway because, you know, I have to discard my entire hand. But if it lets you use the supporter immediately, it'll be nice. Bright Garden. This attack does 20 damage times the number of grass Pokemon and fairy Pokemon you have in play. So this here, I guess it's 120 for 2, and that's not anything to sneeze at. Slurpuff. What do you do? Once do your turn before you attack, you may draw a card. If this Pokemon is an active Pokemon, you may draw 1 more card. Okay, I actually like this. I actually like this card. Light Pulse. Prevent all effects of your opponent's Attacks accept damage done to this Pokemon. So it still takes damage from attacks, but secondary effects, things like poison and such, won't affect it. But 2-card draw for this isn't bad if it's in the active spot. And on top of that, you can use this ability from your bench. So you could be drawing 4 cards a turn if you have 4 of these in play. There's no reason why you would ever want to have more than 2, because you will want the other Slurpuff that prevents special conditions from being placed on you. It's a good card if you're playing purely fairy. Small rat, nothing interesting. Deancey. If the defending Pokemon tries to attack your opponent's next turn, your opponent's Coin or Tails attack does nothing. Alright, it's not interesting. Alright, Hydreigon, Dark Impulse. Once to your turn, you may attach the Darkness energy from your discard pile to your active Pokemon. So this is the energy acceleration Dark needs now. I believe the other Hydreigon also got reprinted that moves around Darkness energy in the Legendary Collection set, I believe. Yeah, this is going to definitely keep Dark Pokemon in the game. Crazy Headbutt, discard energy attachment. I mean, you're really only going to use this for its ability. You're going to attack with things like Darkrai and Yveltal the entire time. Goodra does something with Poke-Tools, yes. Each player can't attach any Pokemon tools from his or her hand to his or her Pokemon. This is definitely going to block things like G-Booster. I know how much you all hate that. You all know how much I hate that. But I don't think I would want to put a Stage 2 Pokemon in my deck just to prevent 20 extra damage or a G-Booster. It doesn't seem worth it with how tight deck space is. Maybe if Pokemon lifted the 60 card limit to where you have as many cards as you want in your deck, then maybe I can invest, you know, some deck spaces just to get Goodra down, but I don't really see it being used. And on top of that, Dragon Pulse forces you to discard top card of your deck. The attack cost is pretty outrageous. I mean, you could play this in a purely fairy deck and just have like Rainbow Energy and like a cup of water, but I don't see it being that useful. Pharaoh doesn't do anything interesting, I don't think. Nope. When has a Pharaoh ever done anything interesting? Like, I just want to see a good Pharaoh card. Like, I personally don't care for the Pokemon, but Pharaoh hasn't had a good card since the game has came out. I mean, that could be a separate video just on its own, every single Pharaoh card, and we could just see that every single Pharaoh card has sucked. Like, the art is good, I like the art, but they just cannot make a good Pharaoh card. Sucks to be Pharaoh, I guess. Blissey, Tender Vengeance. That attack sounds evil. 130 HP, weakness to fighting, 300 retreat cost, the basic stuff. So you flip a coin. If it has its attack, it's 10 damage times the number of damage counters on each of your... Oh. Okay. Okay, that's scary. 3 energy. Oh man, you could definitely use like an Earthquake deck. This attack can do over 500 damage to anything. Alright. Tender Vengeance it is. Charge Dash, 60 plus. You may do 20 more damage to do this Pokemon does. So basic attack. So you could do 80 and deal 20 damage to yourself. I mean, Pokemon has turned into a game where you don't want to do additional damage to yourself. I don't see Blissey being used much. Maybe if Tender Vengeance costed 2 to use, not cost 3. I mean, Blissey needs more HP. Blissey needs at least 170 HP. Like, then I could see it being useful. But could you imagine a Blissey EX though? It'll have like 270 HP. It'll be worth it though. You can't make it too good. Its role is obviously going to be a sponge, but you know, when you think Blissey, you think large amounts of HP. So Exploud, Boom Burst. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So 120 for 2 max is not bad. Hyper Voice does 90. I mean, if your opponent has, you know, 5 Pokemon in play, you're doing 100 damage. Even if they have 4, you're doing 80, and you're doing 80 to everything. So X-Bloud with Dusk Noir, both of them, is actually really good. 140 HP, so it's not going down too quickly. Of course, if you're going against a fighting deck, that's going to happen. But it's just generally you don't want to play with stage 2 attacking Pokemon because they require a lot of resources to get into play, and they get knocked out quickly. I just think they need to rebalance a lot of these cards, make them better. But that's where we're at. Regigigas Daunt. During your opponent's next turn, any damage done by attacks from different Pokemon is reduced by 40. So 80 for 3 and reduce 40 damage. Not bad. Heavy impact. So Regigigas is just a standard beat stick. It's got 130 HP, 4 energy retreat calls, weakness to fighting. So you're not going to be doing much with that. Digger's Beat. Let's see what you do. Smithering Smash. Flip a coin that has discard energy attached to defending Pokemon. Earthquake. This attack does 10 damage to each of your bench Pokemon. Still standard beat stick, but you know that weakness to fighting is a huge deterrent. I don't think you do anything interesting. Nope. AZ. Going into the trainers. You put one of your Pokemon into your hand, discard all cards attached to that Pokemon. When they say discard all cards attached to that Pokemon, I think you take all the Pokemon and put it into your hand. So if you had a Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, you pick up the Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard, put those into your hand, but you discard all the energy and tools that they had on it. This here is a really good card in a Dragonite deck as well, because you just pick the Dragonite up and put it into your hand. You discard any tools attached to it though, but you know, it is what it is. It's also going to be a really good way to get rid of the Team Flare tools that they're going to put on your Pokemon as well. It costs you a supporter, but yeah, that's the problem. The game is too fast to have slow supporters, if you know what I mean. Battle Compressor. This is a card where you search your deck for 3 cards and discard them. So that's going to be good for getting those metal energy in a discard pile, as well as those darkness energy. Dimension Valley. Each psychic Pokemon's attacks, both yours and your opponent's, cost colorless less. So you can see how good the psychic Pokemon are going to be with things like Gengar costing 1 less to attack. Enhanced Hammer. You guys are already familiar with this. Discard a special energy on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Gengar Spirit Link lets you go into M Gengar EX without your turn ending. Good card. I hope if they give Pidgeot, when they give Pidgeot is Mega, they give it a Spirit Link as well. Hand Scope. Your opponent reveals their hand. Good for information, but this isn't something you would want to put in your deck. It's kind of like Town Map for me. It's kind of like the 64th card in my deck. Or 65th, I guess would be the correct way to say that. It's a good card to know what your opponent has, but with so much shuffle draw in the game, so many, like, with the hands changing constantly every turn, this isn't going to be that great a card. I mean, there's always a situation where you can get that one turn, but, you know, that's pretty much it. Head Ringer. I hate the fact it's got Team Flare in it. It's so prominent. Like, they should have just put a transparency on it so it doesn't completely obscure the text. But basically, you attach this to one of your opponent's Pokemon EX that don't have a Pokemon tool attached to it. So this only affects Pokemon EX. Oh, it's a rare too, so that's good to know. But basically, when this card is attached to a Pokemon, its attack is colorless more. And when this card is removed from the Pokemon for any reason, put it in the opponent's discard pile. So if I were to play like to a turn to return it to my hand, it just gets discarded. If this gets removed from a Pokemon, regardless of the reason, you discard it. But this basically makes EX Pokemon's attacks cost 1 more. Jamming Net, same thing as the last card, except the does 20 damage less to all the defending Pokemon. So you attach it to your opponent's Pokemon EX, their attack does 20 less damage. All of these are pretty decent. It's really hard to decide which one you want to use, because ideally you want to prevent your opponent from attacking you. So if you can increase their energy cost and that prevents them from attacking, it's better than doing, the -20, because preventing them from attacking potentially prevents 120 damage from being dealt to you that turn. I would probably go with Headringer if I had to choose. Just saying. Because even things like Headringer, it makes Lucario's attack cost 2 more. It makes Dragon Knight EX cost 4. It makes Evil Tall's Evil Ball cost 3. I mean, it doesn't have a problem paying that cost anyway, but, it forces them to put more energy on it. It makes Mewtwo's X Ball cost 3. I mean, the possibilities are just too good. Even Manectric, its attack costs 3. It's just always good, especially Pokemon like Landorus EX, who really don't want more energy attached to them to use one attack. It makes Hammerhead cost 2. It makes Land Judgment cost 4. I mean, Headringer is the card you want to use in your deck. Jamming Net is also good, but, I mean, Headringer just kind of has it beat. Lysander's Trump card. I typically don't like this card effect, because each player shuffles all cards in the discard pile into your deck except this card. It's good for screwing over decks that rely on the discard pile, but it just ways of recovery like this is, I don't know. We'd have to see how it affects the game first, but this is Pokemon. Anything can happen. I mean, the game's already unbalanced. This isn't going to hurt it. Manectric Spirit Link. Same thing. It lets you go on a Mega Manectric without your turn ending. Professor Sycamore, you've already seen that. Robo Substitute lets you play this as a basic Pokemon with 30 HP. At any time during your turn, you can discard this card. This card can't retreat. If this card is knocked out, your opponent doesn't take any prizes for it. So basically, this is going to let hit and run decks do what they do even better, which I hate, because it's effectively trading 2 to 4 prizes for 0. Like, think about Donphan, which can do 100 damage for a single energy. They switch into this. You have no ways of moving this card from the active spot, so you attack it. It gets knocked out. You don't take a prize for it. Donphan comes back in, plays another one of these, knocks out your EX, and you have to deal with this again. Even if it's not an EX, Donphan is still doing 80 damage for 1 energy, and it's still going to be taking prizes while you are technically getting nothing for this. This, with Lysander's Trump card, puts these back into the deck. You play more of these. You can Dowsing Machine for it, get it back, so you could potentially be playing this same card like 10 times in one game. You can see how that's going to get annoying when you have to deal with things with Safeguard, when you have to deal with things like I mean, I just don't like additional cards like this, especially when there are almost no ways to get around it that doesn't already take a resource. Like, if you want to get around it, you have to play Lysander. That's not a problem, except the fact you can't play any other supporters that turn. Same thing with Pokemon Catcher. You gotta flip a coin. You'll probably flip tails like I always do. Things like the new Pyroar, you still have to use an energy attachment to get the effect. What's the other Pokemon? Genesect. You have to attach a plasma energy from your hand, that using your attachment for the turn just to get around this card. And you want to place colored energy down on your Genesect. So I just don't like the reintroduction of cards like this. Sure, it's decent. Any deck can use it, but some decks use it way better than other decks. Roller Skates, you guys already seen it. Shauna, you guys already seen it. Steel Shelter. Basically, this here prevents metal Pokemon from being affected by special conditions. If he has special conditions on them, you remove them. Short, simple, and sweet. Not overpowered, nothing. Target Whistle. I don't know if you guys remember Pokeflute from the base set days. Basically, it lets you put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile on their bench. Now, I know what you're saying. Why would you want to do that? Well, sometimes you can win the game that way. You Pokemon Center or Pokeflute or Target Whistle, put it down something with like 30 HP or something you can knock out that turn. Lysander it up, knock it out. Easy prize or two. Especially if you're playing Manetric EX with against an Evil Tall deck. You can easily do 220 damage to Evil Talls and just take prizes that way. I mean, it'll make your opponent mad, but you know, it is what it is. Tierno, already seen it. Trick coin. Now, I'm a little confused how this card is worded. Like it says, once during your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack, like keyword, on the attack on a Pokemon this card is attached to, you can ignore the coin flips and start flipping again. And I know what you're saying, you know, Victini had the exact same effect, but it also says you may also use the effect that lets you flip the coins, again, including effects from other cards once during your turn. Like, I guess it's because it's in parentheses. There's no reason for it to be in parentheses other than to clarify how the effect is supposed to be used. So if I were to play a Pokemon catcher, because of the next set of text, I could technically reflip that coin to potentially get a heads on that Pokemon catcher. But this here is a Pokemon tool, so you have to attach it to one of your Pokemon, and it can be attached to any of your Pokemon and you still get this effect. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to look for a ruling on that, because the way it's worded here, it says you can reflip the coins of attacks and other cards. So pretty much any card during your turn that you will play that will require a coin flip, you can flip that coin again. Still, need a ruling on that. Versus Seeker, we've already seen this, but I'll read it anyway for the guys of you who weren't around during the time this card was a thing. Basically, you put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Now, this here is pretty good because you have the other card that currently does that. It lets you put 2 supporters back into your deck, but sometimes you need to have that supporter instantly. I think Versus Seeker is going to completely replace that. Sure, you only get 1 card, but I will much rather have instant access to that card and play it versus putting them back into my deck. Now, both of them have their uses. It's just in the long run, Versus Seeker is kind of superior, especially for the aggressive decks. And we have this guy, his hair. I don't know how he got his hair to do that. But basically, you choose a Pokemon tool or special energy attached to any Pokemon in play and discard it. Short, simple, and sweet. This is going to let you get rid of those Team Flare tools attached to your Pokemon and other stuff. But I mean, there's no reason to use this over Enhanced Hammer or Tool Retriever. Sure, maybe one of these in a deck might be good since it can be used for either or. But, you know, no reason to really use it. Double Colorless Energy, guys already seen it. Mystery Energy. This will only be attached to a Psychic Pokemon. And if this energy is ever attached to something that's not a Psychic Pokemon, you discard it. But basically, this here makes the retreat costs of the Psychic Pokemon this card is attached to 2 energy less. So things like Gengar get free retreat costs. And here, you know, just the full arts and stuff like that. They all look nice. I especially like AZ. His art looks cool. And Lysander, I don't know why he has his Doc Ock things. Like, what is that? Like, what is it doing? I have no idea what this is doing. Like, this isn't like Dragon Ball Z where a character obviously changes a form and they get stronger. But this here, it did nothing for him. I saw him do this in the game and I was like, okay, what exactly is this going to do for you? I mean, it's not going to make you any better. It's not going to make you beat me in this battle. Like, I just don't know, like, why they felt the need to give him something like this. I mean, he already looks like a Super Saiyan, but I mean, this was just not needed. This was like an over design that I don't really care for. I mean, sure, it looks cool, but it doesn't do him anything else. Like, I mean, just place yourself in this situation. What would you think? What would you think about if he did this to you, like in real life, and you saw him do this? What are you going to do? Are you going to, I mean, you probably just wouldn't even take him seriously after that. Like, I know I wouldn't take him seriously. I'd be like, you know what? I'm done. I don't care anymore. The fact that he put that on made me mad because he acts like it's actually going to do something for him. And this is Pokemon, so we know this isn't weaponized. So, like, why even put it on? I don't know. I guess I kind of want to say something about that. It doesn't make any sense. And this guy here, how does he get his hair to do that? He looks like he's trying to be Eggman. Like seriously, he looks like he's trying to be Eggman. Like, if we were to put, like, Eggman's beard on him, that's what I'm doing. If I get this card in full art, I'm going to draw Eggman's beard on it. Now, this is going to be like this right here. He's already got the glasses. He's got the gut thing going for him. Okay, I just noticed why does he have one of his gloves in his pocket? I mean, there's no need for that. That doesn't make him cooler. And then it's like it's in his left pocket. Why is his glove in his left pocket? His left arm does not need two gloves. Like, this should be in his right pocket. Like, do they explain why he does that? Or is it just like something that they was like, yeah, this might be cool? Okay, maybe I'm just thinking about it too much. But these two right here, they are doing way too much. Especially this guy. He's like, what, 600 years old? He's the only character in the game with a full-size sprite or 3D model. Like, this guy is more interesting than Lysander. And I think is mostly because nobody even knows this guy exists. He doesn't know this guy exists. Giovanni doesn't know this guy exists. The guys from Team Aqua, Team Magma don't know this guy exists. He's like kind of just there. And he ends up getting arrested by these people or thrown in their dungeon for whatever reason. Doesn't explain it. It just kind of happens. But going back to the review, Mega Manetrix Secret Rare. I wish they made the Secret Rares full art. But I guess you can't really complain about it. I mean, the Mega Manetric just looks much nicer. And then we've got the Oddball, the Ghost Rare Dialga EX. That's what I'm calling it, the Ghost Rare. Like, I hope Pidgeot gets one of these. Like, that'd be so cool. I would buy all of them. Like, seriously, when they make Pidgeot EX, you guys are going to give me all of them. I'm going to get all the Pidgeot EXs. I'm going to have like thousands of them. Like, nobody else will own them. I will have every single one of them. But Dialga looks nice. I wouldn't mind having this card in my collection. But apparently these things are selling for $60 right now. They'll probably drop when they realize the card sucks. But you know, the card doesn't suck. You know, this is a really good card. I mean, there's no reason for a metal deck to not use this card. But yeah, that's it for the set. This here is actually a very good set. I'm actually looking forward to it. It's going to make a lot of changes to the meta. Yeah. If you guys liked the video, leave comments below. Subscribe to my channel. We're always going to be doing more interesting stuff like this. And I see you guys in the next video. See you later.